Hey, Special Chronicles listeners, I'm Daniel Smrokowski, founder of Special Chronicles, coming to you at the start of the program to invite you to join our community and support our 2026 Giving campaign to keep amplifying the voices of individuals with special needs. Your gift powers studio operations, production, and inclusive media. Donate today at specialchronicles.com/give.
This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a
Welcome back to the Special Chronicles Podcast. I am Daniel Smrokowski, your host and founder of Special Chronicles, and today we're bringing you something special to close out the year. Throughout 2025, you, our amazing community, have tuned in, shared your stories, and lifted up voices from across the disability community. And now, we've gathered the most popular episodes of the year. As selected by you, our listeners, you'll hear clips from a few of our favorites, along with some of my own personal highlights from hosting this show. It's been an incredible year of conversations, advocacy, and storytelling, and this Best of 2025 episode is our way of celebrating the moments that inspired us, challenged us, and reminded us why inclusion matters. Be sure to visit specialchronicles.com to follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, and stay connected with everything happening in our community. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Your support helps people discover these stories. Now let's dive into the Best of 2025 podcast. My name is Daniel Smrokowski. I'm the founder and host of Special Chronicles and a former Southern Travel Global Messenger with Special Olympics. Our website, specialchronicles.com. You can follow Special Chronicles on socials and wherever you get your podcast. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast, it's an extra kind of a crossover episode that we're doing this week because our friend and Southern Travel Global Messenger Wyatt is returning on the podcast as we recap a very special event that we both attended at the White House this past week. Wyatt, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. We're going to share a clip for you all to be able to hear from President Biden himself so Wyatt, you and I were in that room when President Biden was speaking. But in the description for this episode in the show notes, we'll put a link to so Special Olympics had posted that the full speech of President Biden. So we'll put a link. So if you guys all want to go watch the full speech, but we're going to share a clip of President Biden's remarks at the White House.
I think you all underestimate what you do for the community, what you give people hope. They look at you. They see your damn bravery. They see your courage. They see you standing up under circumstances they don't think they can handle. And you do it. And it's all about hope. My dad used to have an expression. See, Joey, the job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about being able to look people in the eye and say, we're like everybody else. When you're treated with dignity, it changes everything. And you make people realize they have an obligation to do that. Tim, you and your children, your siblings, your children, your grandchildren, continue your parents' mission of service, empowering others to reach their God-given talent. Eunice and Sarge would be proud. I feel them here today and always do, by the way. Thank you for all the supports of the Special Olympics, including for Congress, are here tonight. One of my good friends, Tanny Hoyer's over there. Tanny talks about the Eastern Shore of Maryland. It's really the Western Shore of Delaware. And Tony Quello. Where's Tony? Congressman? Tony, good man. And Senator Roy Blunt. Roy? Thank you, Roy. We've worked for decades to make our country more accessible and more just. Above all, the athletes here and to your loved ones, I say thank you because you give us hope. If you can do what you did, why can't we do so much more? You're some of the most driven people I've ever met. For me and Jill, it's a true honor to host you here at the White House. And this is your house, the people's house. I mean it, your house. The Special Olympics are close to my heart. As was mentioned already, 1971, I attended the Delaware first ever Special Olympic competition. Track meet in Old Wilmington High School. I was a county councilman at the time, an organization that had just begun. I've become.
All right, we're going to pause President Biden's remarks there. But yeah, he did speak a lot about the hope, and I think a lot about what you and I and the millions of Special Olympics athletes bring. It was.
Yeah, I think Loretta always does a good job. She was, an athlete for just a group to come, and then Andre Drummond walks by, so I just went up to him, shook his hand, and just said thanks for supporting Special Olympics because I started Special Olympics in 2008 or something like that, and he was an ambassador all the way back then. So he's been a real big supporter of just our movement. So. Yeah, it was really cool just to meet him for a couple of seconds. So
yeah, sure. Olympics, especially someone who might be unsure of where to start or what role that they would play.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this question because I do get people coming to me and saying, "Oh, I want to volunteer. I'm just not sure, and how do I do it, or what do I do?" And I always answer, it's like the famous Nike commercial, just do it, just go and do it. And I would say. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing. You don't have to, I was so nervous to join the board, as a 20-something. And I was like, well, I don't know if I have the skills yet. And, then you'll develop them, you'll learn them. But I would say that Special Olympics truly is one of the easiest organizations you can start volunteering at. So if you've never volunteered before, I say just go to an event because everyone is so welcoming. It's the mission, and they're so kind. And I promise you will find your spot in no time. And sometimes it's just going to an event and you can go and show up and cheer on the athletes, give high fives, give hugs. My prediction is that you will be hooked, just like I was from day one. And we hear that all of the time. I would say to contact your local Special Olympics. You can go online and look at your local state because through that, you're see all of the local games. A lot of people kind of think Special Olympics is one event. It's like the global games that we just had. But in reality, there's 100,000 events annually for Special Olympics around the globe, which means I think in Illinois, we have one going practically every single day, if not many more than one. And so just even locally in your community, you can find that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I'm part of the law enforcement torch run. So you can also go to your local police station, and so many law enforcement officers are working with Special Olympics on top of their day job as volunteers, whether that be organizing the polar plunge, which you may have heard about, or cop on a rooftop. But they also need lots of help in volunteering. And you haven't lived till you plunge in negative, degree weather in cold water. I know my kids got involved with that really early, and it was just so much fun. And I think you'll really enjoy it. So I love this. There's a saying that I've heard. It's don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. And what I take from that is just go for it. You don't have to be perfect in your volunteer work. Just try and go out there. And I think you'll be really, really glad that you did in the end. I know I was.
Yeah, awesome. For those of you listening to audio, I put up on the screen. You can find your local program at specialolympics.org, and we'll put a link in the show notes as well, where you all can. I believe it's very easy. You can, I think, right at the top of the website, they've got a link that you can click on and find. If you're listening across the U.S. or across the globe, you can find your local program. But I want to briefly highlight a couple of things that you said about volunteering, which connects with what our chairman, Tim Shriver, who Tim has been on this podcast a couple times. A few of his children have been on as well. But one thing that Tim wrote about, which the first time that Tim was on was, it was during the 50th anniversary, and we were at the Intercontinental Hotel, and we recorded in the hallway of a hotel. That was the only place. I asked them to put a Special Olympics backdrop behind us, so at least that there would be some branding. Something that Tim wrote about in his first book, Fully Alive, which Tim couldn't believe that I annotated his entire book.
I am so happy to be here. Talk about joy. What a great way to start my day. I hope others will walk away feeling inspired. I hope others will walk away willing to just do it and go out and volunteer. Take that leap of faith. Be brave in the attempt. And I hope that maybe that could be a takeaway. And if we just reach one person, that's what it takes. And I just want to thank you again, Daniel, for all you do. This was a lot of prep, and just the passion and the energy that you live your life, but also that you share it with others through Special Chronicles and your work at United and all you do. You continue to be such an inspiration to me, and I want to thank you. And I want to thank you for your incredible gift of friendship all these years. Just truly, there are no words to express my gratitude to you and for being such an incredible part of my life. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing now. Now I think by this November, be podcasting for 17 years now to have this platform of Special Chronicles. So in just a few years from now, so like in 2028, so just before the next World Games, we'll be celebrating just about 20 years, and it's so to be at almost 2 decades of being able to tell and to share these stories on this platform. Almost 20 years ago, I never would have imagined to, because of going through some difficult moments like in high school and in my junior high years, I never would have imagined that I would be for almost 20 years now to be behind this microphone, to be sharing these stories and to hear from listeners and supporters like yourself and many others that are having their perspectives change. I mean, I've heard from many listeners that their perspectives of those of us with intellectual and developmental disabilities are being changed by this podcast, by this platform on Special Chronicles. And so it's amazing to, with all the hard work that it is behind the scenes, it's amazing that it's continuing to make a difference in so many lives.
Sure, it really is, and I'm just humbled to be a part of it today, and we'll continue to
on the program. But now finally having him on the program is Sean Ferguson, Chief of Global Government Relations at Special Olympics, to talk about the Global Coalition for Inclusion that took place at the Special Olympics World Winter Games in 2025. Welcome, Sean, finally on Special Chronicles.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. It's so nice to be here. I've been seeing some of my friends and colleagues have gotten the call to join Special Chronicles, and I've been waiting for it. I felt like, it's baseball season, so I feel like, getting a call up from the minor leagues to the major leagues, and here I am.
Yes, it's exciting to have you on, and we'll come back to the global coalition for inclusion in just a quick moment. But I'm now a former Southern Tribal Global Messenger, but the last World Games that my class was at was in Berlin, and I think that was the first time that the Global Coalition for Inclusion took place. So it was exciting to, even though we didn't really know that much about what this event that we were asked to go to, but it was exciting to see it begin. And then I think you were on the Inclusion Revolution Radio podcast, and so I heard a little bit more about that, and now I'm excited to share with our listeners the episode that I just finished recording that our listeners are going to hear after this one. John, who you heard, his day job at United Airlines is with government relations. So it's similar to your job, except he's at Airlines, and then you're at Special Olympics. So it's kind of neat how both of you kind of have similar jobs.
It really is. Can I say one thing quickly about United Airlines? I know we're going to talk about the Global Coalition for Inclusion, which is basically our international work outside of the United States. But United Airlines have been a huge supporter of our Special Olympics Capitol Hill Day programming. They've supported us the last couple of years, and we're hopeful that they're going to be supporting us in the future, which has been a key to getting our messengers like yourself and others up on Capitol Hill to talk to members of Congress and their staff about what we do together with the U.S. federal government. So I have nothing but huge respect for John and for the United Airlines folks that have done so much to support us. And I know you work with United Airlines, so I fly with them all the time, and so we're huge fans of United Airlines at the Special Olympics Government Relations Department.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen that. I've never been to a Capitol Hill Day before, but hopefully in the future. And I don't know if you know Amy Dugan from the North America team, but it's now, I want to joke, every time that she is flying through Chicago, she always texts me when she's flying through.
I have to start doing that too, because it seems like I'm through Chicago a fair bit.
Yeah. Definitely drop me a text when you're flying through. I only work in the middle of the day, but
sure.
Obviously not today that we're recording, but you'll definitely have to drop me a text. And so take our listeners back to as a way to introduce yourself to our listeners. How did you first get involved in the Special Olympics movement?
Yeah, it's really been a great part of my career and my life since I've been with Special Olympics. Come June, I'll have been with.
So with that in mind, can you share some of the key milestones in terms of membership and the global impact it's having on individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, when we first started out, I'll say I love the idea that Tim Shriver and David Evangelista came up with. But having worked on Capitol Hill, and I've seen different global coalitions and global agreements, treaties, and like the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the SDGs, also UN Sustainable Development Goals. One thing that I've always known from my experiences when I worked in the U.S. government is it's not always easy to get governments to agree to put their name on the line or add their name to some sort of agreement. And I'll be honest, I was a bit nervous starting out. I thought, we had a couple, 2-3 countries that were interested, and it seemed like we hit a point along the way in the lead up to Berlin, when all of a sudden, wow, every other day it seemed like a different country, or every other week or so, a new country said, "Oh, we're interested in this." And a lot of times, what it would take would be, for instance, one country in a region joins on, and then one of their kind of fellow or neighboring countries said, "Oh, well, if they're in, why aren't we in?" For instance, the government of China, the embassy here in Washington said, "We support the Global Coalition. We want to be a part of it, and we want to set our goals as part of the Global Coalition." Once that happened, all of a sudden Mongolia was like, "Oh, we're quite interested in this. This is something that we might want to do." We saw that throughout Africa too. South Africa joined the coalition, and then we've had other countries like Kenya. We have a few countries that are in the pipeline now that are interested. So one of the things that I think really got the coalition moving was you kind of get one country in a region that starts out, and then that starts to build. Other countries go, "Oh, hey, if you're doing that, maybe we should look into doing that." It's kind of like a geopolitical sort of competition sometimes to be involved in these sort of things, and a little competition isn't bad. I was in one country that we've actually spoken about earlier, meeting with a minister who, unfortunately, the government changed and that minister's now gone, so you got to start over again. Said, "Well, what's the United States doing for inclusive education? Your inclusive education program? What's Canada doing? So it gets to be a little bit of a competition where people think, oh, we need to get involved with that. So that's something where I've seen sort of a tipping point happen, where you get like a very critical key nation to say, we're gonna get involved with the Global Coalition, and then other nations will hear about that. We'll see the press releases, we'll see the photos from the signing agreement, and then all of a sudden we start to get inquiries from them, which has been great. And one of the things that has been very important for me in this process, and I was kind of beating this drum early on, is we have to meet countries where they're at. In the United States, we have, very, very generous funding from the U.S. government for our inclusive education programming, for our UCS program, in the amount of about $36 million a year. One thing we couldn't do is go to other countries and say, we need you to match the U.S. in this. That's just something that isn't possible for a lot of countries. That it isn't possible because of their GDP. We're looking at countries from that sometimes don't have the wealth that countries like the United States or China
or anybody Special Olympics International, the book, to get permission to use to mention or to use. I think in some of the endorsements, one of the vice presidents of partnership that I also know, Kim Jordan. So whether it's Kim at SOI or at our local program, did anybody pre-read or give any feedback?
Yeah. So when I first started writing this book, Daniel, I was writing it only from the perspective of Madison, of a person who does not have a disability. And I was at a writing conference and I met an editor who said, "What about the other girl?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "What about Meg's story?" And I said, "Well, she has Down syndrome." And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, that's a really daunting task for me to think that I could write from a first person perspective of someone with Down syndrome." And this editor looked at me and said, "If not you, who?" And he said, "Somebody, intimately, like your daughter has Down syndrome. And so you should be telling her story too." And so I didn't take that lightly. I wanted to make sure that, Meg is not a reflection of Lily. She's more of a combination of every individual with Down syndrome I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And I wanted to make sure that if I was going to create this character, I was going to do so in the most authentic and realistic and respectful way possible. And so by doing that, I made sure that I had numerous readers along the way. So parents of other individuals with Down syndrome, special education teachers, people who work.
People in, whether it's children in daycare or elementary school or high school or college, can you comment on those other types of school years? Can they still learn and apply what's happening to Madison and Meg in those school years?
Absolutely. So I think, like I said, the target age would be, students between like 3rd grade and 8th grade as far as the target age of the readers. But high school students, college students, adults would all enjoy the book as well. And when you're speaking to like your niece and nephew, that would be it'd be a great book for the parents to read, so that as they get older, they can use the examples that, there are provided from these girls' experiences and what they've learned from the parents.
This episode is going live on March 21st because it is World Down Syndrome Day. So if I'll put both your hands together as we welcome Melissa back on Special Chronicles. Welcome back, Melissa.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm thrilled to be here, and I love that studio audience.
Oh, yes. There's where you are in your upcoming book, Down Syndrome Out Loud, where you highlight, as you said, 20 stories about disability and determination. What inspired you to compile these stories, and why was now 2025 the right time for this book to come out?
Right. So when my brother and I were kids in the 1980s, we searched in vain for books that represented his experience as a person with Down syndrome. And Daniel, we found nothing. There was nothing out there. So about 3 years ago, I think it was during the pandemic, I wrote for the Washington Post reporting on Chris Nikich, who's the first Ironman triathlete with Down syndrome. And in that same article, I profiled Abigail, the advocate Adams, and Nate Simon of 21 Pineapples. And I was so impressed with the 3 of them and how they seem to have about 6 times my energy and determination that I started poking around and researching other people with Down syndrome and what they were doing in the world. And what I found really inspired me to get up off my butt and find them and contact them. So, and, with the goal of writing this book. So really, it's always been the right time for this book. I mean, it was the right time hundreds of years ago, frankly.
Yes.
But right now, there are so many issues on the table which directly affect people with Down syndrome. Everything from the cuts to the education department to threats to Medicaid. This book, with its 25 profiles of people with Down syndrome living their best lives, will help to create compassion and understanding. And I'm hoping it helps to protect the basic civil rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm so glad this book is finally getting published and that I get to be the one to write it. What a privilege.
I'm Zach Anner. I'm an author and a comedian and a YouTuber and a writer and blah, 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 blah. But today I'm here because I'm the keynote speaker at the Speak Up, Speak Out Summit here in, I want to say Normal, Illinois.
Yes.
What an interesting name
Yeah.
for a town.
Yes. So
That makes me think it's secretly weird.
it is. It is. I mean, I live just in the suburbs of Chicago, so just north of here. So,
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so where do we stand on pizza?
So I was born in Southern California, in Long Beach, so I'm more Thin Crust,
Oh,
even though
yeah.
I've grown up here.
Okay, so that's acceptable.
Yeah.
We live in Burbank now, so
Yeah.
not too far from you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I was born there. Yeah,
You're a
but-
Chicago boy
but
now.
Chicago boy now. Yes. So before we get into, because when I was standing in the back of the room, even though my dad said, "Oh, you could have sat down," but I was standing in the back when you're speaking, and I think I ended up having like 5 pages of notes.
Oh,
you know.
okay. All right.
So it was just to kind of guide. But before we get into that, because the Speak Out Summit is all about self-advocacy.
What's my future going to look like? And I'm sorry to be missing the talk on
Yeah.
disability and sexuality
Yeah.
because,
I know.
we've all got a lot to learn.
Yes. So maybe we'll have to pull up somebody from that breakout to stop by our podcast booth.
Please hit the bullet points for us.
Yes. Give us the highlights. What are you most excited about being here at the Speak Out Summit?
I was honestly, we were only here for a day, but I think I said at the beginning, but I'm just so energized and excited to see so many
Of analogy
Yeah.
in the past. So at the end, you talked about how this is the time that we have to connect, to be human together, and how happiness fades but joy echoes. I thought that was a perfect way that you wrapped up your speech. Can you repeat that for our listeners and kind of share just a little bit about what you meant by
sure.
that?
I mean, I think happiness is something that's based on temporary circumstances, but joy is something that comes from within us, and it's something that can really help us through struggle and carry us through grief. And I think joy is something that we all need in times like these when there are so many uncertain things going on in the world, and it might be easier to be all doom and gloom, but I think we all get one life, and we all get this time on the planet together, and in order to experience all of the wonderful things that this life has to offer and all of the beautiful things and the tough things, we need to have joy. And I think having a disability gives us a unique window into joy that not everyone has, because we know at the start that things are not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'll say I wish you were here, but stay joyful and stay gritty.
Awesome. And where can our listeners, if you're watching the video podcast, you see we've got your book up on the table here, but where can also buy your book and follow you online?
You can buy my book anywhere, but you can also get it at your local library for free. That's what I would do.
Awesome. And where can our listeners follow you? Website, social media?
ZachAnner.com. And then also I host a weekly trivia podcast, or I'm one of the hosts. It's called Answer For It. We're just completely irreverent. You can check me out on YouTube. It's just my name, Zach Anner, Zach with an H.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. I'll have to check that out as well. Thanks. That's a wrap on this episode of our live coverage from the 2025 Speak Up, Speak Out Summit in Normal, Illinois, presented by the Alc of Illinois. A big thank you to our self-advocates, families, speakers, and community members who have joined us on today's episode and shared their powerful voices. And thank you again, Zach, for coming on the Special Chronicles
thank
podcast.
you for having me.
Yes. Yeah. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow the Special Chronicles podcast on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review, like, subscribe, do all those things.
Do all the stuff.
Yes. Do all the stuff at specialchronicles.com to where you can follow us. Thanks. Yeah. Awesome.
Giving respect.
Yeah.
And a voice.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Let me.
Okay, what do you want to say, and then you can sign. I usually inscribe.
Yeah.
To my favorite podcast host. Sorry, this has taken years.
But it was well worth it.
It was.
This was an awesome interview.
Yeah, it was.
It really wasn't like an interview. You guys were just having a conversation.
Yeah, well, and that's what I try to share with a lot of the guests, which I'm sure I'm sure like the podcast that you have hosted. It's just a conversation.
Just keeping it conversational. This took years, but your dad says it was worth it, and I agree.
I was born with cerebral palsy and dystonia. Cerebral palsy is a disability where the cerebellum is damaged, and I didn't have enough oxygen to the cerebellum, and I was born 3 months premature.
Awesome. Just like yourself, I was also, I think I was born like 3 1/3 months premature too.
Wow.
So we share
have
that in common.
Yeah.
And dystonia is muscle stiffness, and dystonia and cerebral palsy are combined.
Awesome. And for your parents, can you share just a little bit from your perspectives?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the pregnancy, we had no signs of any issues. Everything seemed like it was going well. And then one day the water broke, and we ended up in the hospital. They were going to originally try to keep Ava inside her mother's belly for 3 months, or at least another, a month or so, they said, at least minimum. And so that night I remember in the hospital going to bed, and 6 a.m. in the morning, the doctors came in the room. They threw the scrubs at me and said, "Hey, you're having a baby. She wants to come out." And so Ava was born. She weighed about a kilo.
I weighed 1 pound 2 ounces.
Yeah, even less. She was 1 pound 2 ounces. So she was very, very small.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
we were in the NICU for about 3 months before we came home, and it was a roller coaster. Every day was different.
Yeah.
Some days we would come in and the doctors would tell us she's doing great, everything's going well.
And out of my mind, it's about a girl, like a 6th grader, who has CP, and she cannot walk or talk or use her arms like her parents does, but she got a talker that talks for her. Yeah, and my grandma and I watched it, and my grandma was bawling.
Awesome.
Okay.
And you watched it with me, Dad. And what did you think?
I thought it was a very emotional movie for sure. But I think what we really want to know is how it inspired you.
Yeah.
I felt bad for the main character, and I want to help people like her.
Mm-hmm. And was it inspirational to you?
Yeah.
In what way? How did it inspire you?
Like friends, like classmates betraying her, and
But how was that inspiring? How did it inspire you? What was the moral of the movie?
Just be yourself, and everyone will love you.
The right people, at least, right? The
Yeah.
people who need to love you will love you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, I'll definitely now have to. I'll definitely now have to
Make
watch
sure
the
you
movie.
have a box of Kleenex because it's definitely an emotional one.
I think we usually have some Kleenex in our living room, so I'll definitely have to make sure it's by the couch.
There you go.
Just a few final questions before as we wrap up. Why is it important for self-advocates to have the voices heard? Why is it important for you able to have your voice heard, and then for your parents as well, from a family perspective? But why is it important for self-advocates like yourself, like myself, like the hundreds that are here at this conference? Why is it so important to have our voices heard?
Because, to be honest, I am the only one who has a disability in the family, and I want other people to know that they're not alone.
Awesome.
So you want people to know that you're not alone.
Yes.
Okay. And for me as a father, I think this is extremely important because I think when you have all these people coming together and sharing their stories, it's powerful, right? And it's a way to make change. And if we don't speak up for our loved ones, and if we don't speak up for ourselves, who's going to do it for us? Probably nobody.
Yeah.
So as a father, this, like I said, this is our first time. It's definitely not our last time. But I think
for those listeners who may not know what the Wings for All is, can you share with us a little bit about what Wings for All is and why it's so important?
Absolutely. So I will be totally transparent. The person to tell me about it was our amazing president, Kimberly Johnson, who actually experienced Wings for All many years ago when her son was much younger. And she told me, listen, we got to get this back to O'Hare because this is a life-changing program. I can speak as a parent. When my son was small, we did take the adventure of a lifetime and flew out to Washington State. And I sure wish we had a little practice flight before we took on such an endeavor. And when President Johnson spoke about it, our second, that was my first conversation. The second one was to reach out to Carrie at the Arc of the United States and start the process. So from there, she got us in touch with our amazing partners at United, and meeting by meeting, date by date, we finally got the banana. We got B14, 14 Bravo. How do we say Bravo 14 or Bravo 14?
Bravo 14, yeah.
Yeah. So we were able to get that date, and getting to work with Neffy just changed the game. The moment she became involved, it was full speed ahead. And Helene at Bridge was outstanding, and Polly, and we became partners. We got the date, and we just kept going. I just can't believe it's over because it felt like months and months to make it happen. Yeah. And then boom, it was such an incredible day. So that's how we got started here.
Awesome, and I'm sure hopefully we can make this 1 or 2 time event moving forward. I want to touch on briefly something that you said about a process, how this was a process flight. Even for myself before I've been taking public transportation with the bus, for even like I was born in Southern California, and my grandma, had first shown me how to take the bus. But even fast forward to 6 years ago, before I'm one of the first Special Olympics athletes that United hired as a service ambassador, and so even before, it's like I luckily only have to take one bus, but my mom and I, before my first day, we did a kind of like a practice flight, but it was a practice bus ride from my home to the airport and back, just to get. I mean, it wasn't anything official with the Pace Bus Company, but it was kind of the same type of practice one to know. Even though I've had experience taking the bus, but still just to kind of know what to do, where to go, how to use the reduced ventral crowd that I have, and all that. And so it's kind of the same type. Like I'm sure that this I know from my personal experience. Like even I wish, like I'm 36 now, but I wish even a long time ago that I had this Wings for All experience, and I'm sure you probably have heard from not only parents and siblings and family members, but I'm sure a lot of the participants.
Staff, probably about 150 of us on that plane. It was packed. So that having the opportunity, he walks on, he sits down right in that chair like he owned the place. I think it was like 29C. He just sat down and said, "Hey, this is my plane. I'm ready to do this." And we're just laughing, and he's giving high fives, and he's wearing the captain's hat. And then we all come up to the middle, and Captain here said, "Hey, let's take a picture." He's like, "Get in here." And when he just leaned in and he gave him a big kiss on the forehead, I couldn't. For us here, all we had were tears. The flight crew was in tears. The captain, look at that smile. I mean, this was just pure joy, because it felt like he was ready. And then he told him, "Okay, we can go now. I'm ready to do this." So we can't wait for the follow-up to see if he didn't actually go on a real plane and go. But it was just a moment of never-ending advocacy, and I swear, just the human condition of love. That was pure love. Like, all we wanted for him was to try. All his family wanted was that opportunity, and we got it. And we got it in the most. I mean, this is going to be one of the most cherished pictures of my entire life. It was amazing. It really was.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope that you guys can. I hope you guys can frame that picture, because that's and to kind of jump off of that, and we'll have to maybe edit out this 5-minute clip, because it's a perfect story. But to jump on to of what of the impact of the story, because I hope there is follow up that he and his parents can come and join us for the next Wings for All. But this I think also it illustrates that those of us with intellectual and developmental disabilities, like this young man, like myself, it's as fast and busy paced as the airline and the airport is. Sometimes we need that extra time to process what a flight is gonna. That extra time to process what is going to happen. And so I'm sure, and I don't know what was going on in his mind, but like just kind of just based on my experience, I'm sure like he like you try to like go over in your head multiple times of what's going to happen, what's going to happen, and sometimes that fear does block you, but when you have that loving community of advocates from the Elk, when you have that loving community of airline employees like myself, like Ketman Tate, that love, that's what can help to really that can give that extra push with giving those of us with intellectual developmental disability all the time that we need. Like, we shouldn't be rushed to get on a plane to do something, but that like, as you know, most of the participants were able to get on the plane, but the fact that this young man's story, well, this is just the beginning of his travel story chapter, and so hopefully if he comes back for the next Wings for All, chapter 2 will be running on, well, I mean, I should say safely, like, but like you get the idea, running on to actually take flight.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the goal and the hope, and that's the outcome we always hope for. It was every good feeling you could have. That was such a moment for all of us. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll definitely have to edit out this clip. I mean, of course, we want people to listen to the whole episode, but this particular clip of this 5-10 minute story that we've been sharing, I think you definitely can. I'll share with you the edited version of this, that in addition to the picture, but this will, I'm sure it will include.
It's what we call the flight that ARC has developed, and ARC is the disability advocacy group. It's nationwide, but we work with the in Chicago with the Chicago or Illinois branch, I think they are. And basically what we do is provide an experience for families to show up at the airport and do a practice run. As far as there's a lot of families I'll tell a little story later too about a family that hadn't been able to travel to India in 15 years because of their special needs son. And so people are interested in coming to the airport and figuring out how this is going to work for my kids, for my family. And so United and the ARC provides the complete experience. I'll just kind of walk through how like a family showed up. They would show up, and we had everything set up down at group check-in. And so they checked in, they gave their names, they were issued their boarding passes, and it was kind of a neat opportunity down there for the volunteers and the flight crew that was on the flight to meet people and talk to people down there. And so after they checked in and got their boarding passes, a United employee like Daniel and a ARC volunteer, the two of them took them up to TSA security. And the Wings for All encompasses not only United Airlines, but airport employees, that work at the airport. And a big factor here that everybody goes through to go to the airport is the TSA. So the TSA has their program also. And so we were all together on this, working together. So people checked in, Daniel would bring them up to TSA. You can probably talk more about that, Daniel, because I wasn't able to be part of the TSA part. I'm kind of curious about that, actually.
Yeah. Let me. I'll share. Yeah. So we after they checked in, we brought them up in groups, and so I'll kind of share one interesting story. There was two within a group of 6-7 families. There was two of them that had two two kids who didn't want to go up the escalator, and and was afraid of that. And so as you know, so like the escalator in baggage claim, where we will usually having people go up, is closer to the security entrance, the TSA that we were going to. But because two of them, I brought them over to the closest elevator, and but because the group was so, we had to bring them into two groups. I gave my paddle away to somebody else, so I had to use my United phone to kind of so they know
guide people. Sure.
But so I brought them up the elevator, and then I went back down the elevator, brought the other group, and I just had each of them just wait at the top of the elevator, and then I brought them to the security entrance, and then one of the TSA managers that's involved with the TSA chaos, which we'll see if we can put some information in the show notes if people want to get connected with TSA chaos. But then then I passed them. Well, if I could say, I didn't pass them off, but like I directed them up to
where they needed to go.
I guided them to where they needed to go, and then the TSA kills had showed them how to go through. But the navigating from where they checked in to, which in this case it's the group check-in area, and then I had to quickly think of, well, okay, there's these two people that are afraid to get on the escalator. So I had to quickly think, okay, well, at least we've got an elevator close by. So
great thinking. That that's something maybe they didn't even think about. That was great thinking on the slide.
And so and because this, as you just described, because this is a mock experience, the next time that they fly with us, they're going to see, oh, okay, well, if my child or my adult with a disability is afraid to go up or down the escalator, let's find the closest elevator.
Sure.
And so that's that was my experience of directing these families, but that gave them an idea of if something is not working for their son or daughter, let's find a different way to
make it work.
And to modify that. And so even hopefully they will remember that experience, and then in other
18. So Caleb turned 18 in March. So it's hard for me to believe, as his mom, that it's been 18 years. And, a little bit of excitement in his journey. When he was born, we didn't know that he would have Down syndrome prior to his birth. And so that was a surprise. Caleb was born 18 years after his big sister. So that was also a surprise. So, older parents, and, then they come in and tell us that, oh, your baby has Down syndrome. Well, we were taken aback, but not for too long. We adjusted, and we actually got connected pretty quickly with a lot of the local organizations in town, which was super helpful. And to any of the younger parents who are out there in the audience listening, highly recommended that you get connected early, because as your parents can probably attest, and parents of all people with special needs, having that community around you to help answer questions and help guide you in your journey, it's so helpful. There's nothing like it. But, he was born in 2007. There wasn't a whole lot of social media going on back then. So really it was, meeting other parents face to face and having little outings, once a month. And those are super fun. Met a lot of people, and And then, I think when he was 3, we got an email. Would he be interested in doing a new program through Special Olympics called the Young Athletes Program?
Yeah.
And, it was new. It was new in Florida anyway. I don't know if it was new around the country or not, but we said, sure, let's try it. The goal was to prepare the children to be Special Olympic athletes. So by the time they turned 8, and they could do sports, that they had the skills to be able to jump right into the sports. So they learned the basic skills of, how to run correctly, how to jump, how to walk on a balance beam, how to bat a ball, and all those things, And the best thing that we about this program was that it was inclusive. So they had typical peers, typical other kids, whether it was siblings or neighborhood friends or, whoever. Sorry, there's a bug. Whoever it was, be helpers and be buddies for our kids and to help teach them those skills. So that was our start with Special Olympics. Fast forward to when he was 8, and he did jump right into Special Olympics. I think he started with golf and what else? Swimming, right?
Yeah, swimming and running.
Swimming and running, yeah. So we started off with 3 sports right off the bat. Have been a big fan ever since. He went to USA Games in 2022, and it was held down here in Orlando. And what was the sport that you did?
Okay, this sport is triathlon.
Triathlon. You did another one too. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Open water swim.
Swim.
Open water swim. He got a silver medal in open water swim at the games, and unfortunately got sick on the triathlon, so he couldn't finish the triathlon. But it was a great experience. I'm sure having been a part of the USA Games, that it's kind of be overwhelming a little bit. There's so many athletes and so many people. It's wonderful, but it can be a lot. For people. But a great experience. And then come
to pick that up.
Sure. And movement is so important, as we've come to find over these last 4 years. And I've been a runner my whole life, so I was thrilled that Caleb showed an interest in running. The Couch to 5K really, Special Olympics doesn't own it. You can Google it and you can find, a variety of Couch to 5K programs. Pretty much start off with a run walk. So you run for, like I said, 100 yards. For us, it was down to the end of the street and back. And gradually we lengthen that. So like the next day we would do twice that. So you want to build up slowly and build your walks as well slowly. So you have, your body has some time to adjust to the running. Make sure you have good shoes. Number one, that would be my advice as a runner. Make sure you have running shoes. You can go to a lot of different footwear stores or running stores, and they will help you find a doctor or a place where you can get your feet fitted with the proper shoes. That's critical. And then make sure you're doing stretching and warming up and cooling down and all that stuff. But you want to start slowly. And, I think also it's important to have a goal, like we, set the goal as the 5K for Caleb. What goal do you want to achieve? Do you want to do a fun run, a mile fun run? We have a fun Santa run. Remember that was the Santa run that Daddy did with us? Yeah. And it's just a mile, but to say you run a mile when you've never been a runner, that's quite an accomplishment. So
yeah. Awesome.
That would be my advice.
Awesome. I love that. Caleb, do you have any favorite race memories, including your half marathons? Any favorite memories?
What's your favorite race that you did?
Okay. And my favorite race would be swimming.
Yeah, but the open water swim.
Oh yeah.
At USA Game. Saying it's an open water swim at USA Game. Yeah.
Awesome. I was there as a Southern Tribal Global Messenger in Orlando, but I don't think we made it over to the triathlon or the open water swimming because my schedule was very, very busy.
Oh yeah, I bet. Plus, it was so spread out.
It was, yeah. So hopefully, are you guys going to the next USA Games in Minnesota?
Well, unfortunately, they're not offering triathlon as a sport, nor open water swim.
I believe deeply that Special Olympics represents one of, if not the most beautiful part of human history. It blends so many things together. It blends sport, it blends inclusion, it blends solidarity, it blends dignity, it blends community, it blends the individual, but it also blends the collective. Through Special Olympics, we're able to see the world and each other differently, but we're also able to just kind of rediscover ourselves. I think it's remarkable what the movement has done since its inception, starting with the most innovative and daring, dare I say even audacious proposition from Eunice Kennedy Shriver, our founder. And then, having the deep honor of witnessing the prolific global growth and expansion of our movement under our current chairperson, Dr. Timothy Shriver. I think that Special Olympics represents the very best of what the global community has to offer. I'm consistently intrigued, and I mean that in the most positive and most forward-leaning way. I'm consistently intrigued by the depth and wisdom of Special Olympic athletes from all walks, from all creeds, from all ideologies. I've been very privileged and been very humbled by the opportunity to have met so many of them, and yet how many more I have to learn from. So stepping into this role is one that I take with a great sense of urgency, the deepest sense of seriousness. And also, with that kind of nervous excitement that comes with a new role and kind of a new beginning, if you will. But most importantly, what it means to me is that I am going to be in a position that offers me not only the great opportunity, but also the highest responsibility to advocate for and learn from individuals with intellectual disabilities across the world. And from my experience over 26 years in the movement professionally and many years as a volunteer, it's clear the magnitude of that responsibility. And so I assume it with great seriousness, with great pride, and in the spirit of Special Olympic athletes with the proper sense of bravery that comes in daring to win.
Awesome. We're recording this at the end of 2025, and when you think about beginning this role in 2026, what you might have touched a little bit on it just before, but what excites you the most about beginning this role in 2026? I know in the U.S. we've got our next national games. Those I think I heard the next Unified Football Cup.
Yep.
Will be taking place next year, and then the year after that.
If you're looking to create a better way, a better day, join a local unified sports team. Just win or lose, you've already won.
Yeah.
You've already won. The result of the match is almost, I don't want to say secondary, but it's almost secondary to that feel you get of this is better. This is better. And so, I encourage everyone to play unified, because if you can play unified, Daniel, you can live unified. And that's what I think the world is calling for.
Absolutely. Just like you spoke in that passion. I think a lot of us athletes also have the same passion in the sports and the leadership that we do. And speaking to some of your top priorities as you step into this global leadership position, you talked a little bit about wanting to learn, whether it's seeing the first unified cup in Europe, whether it's the first World Games in the Latin America region. I know in 2019, the first World Games that I attended as a Southern Survival Global Messenger was in Abu Dhabi, and the first time that it was in the UAE region. So it's neat that the World Games is coming for the first time to another new region.
Absolutely. And listen, the passion that you spoke to on behalf of the athletes, Daniel, that's where all of us get it from. Let me be very clear. The passion that I feel for this, it was a gift given to me. It was not something, and I'll be very honest, it wasn't something that I, woke up one morning and said, oh gosh, I'm passionate about Special Olympics. This is the product of people like Kester Edwards, who is a longtime mentor of mine. Kester Edwards didn't teach me what is Special Olympics. He taught me why. People like Lucy Meyer, who has always been a very grounding source of inspiration for me, teaching me why Special Olympics, not just what it is, but why. Gary Barnes, a tremendous source of passion and energy. Gilmore Board, Kira Byland, the list goes on and on. About Nyasha, Jimmy in South Africa. The list goes on. So I just want to share, Daniel, that the passion is really a gift that the athletes give to us. And I guess if I took credit for anything, it would be that I was giving an upbringing by my mother and father, and I'm incredibly grateful to both of them, where they taught myself and my siblings the capacity to receive those gifts, to be open to those things. But it's the generosity of the athletes that I was given that. What are some of the things that some of my priorities? Well, Special Olympics has a very robust and ambitious strategic plan. We are dedicated to strengthening our local programs around the world. That is the heart and soul of Special Olympics. Special Olympics is your local athletics match at your local high school. Special Olympics is the bowling tournament in Nairobi. Special Olympics is the local powerlifting match in Minneapolis. Special Olympics is the unified football match in Rio de Janeiro. That's Special Olympics. It's the local, every local community. That's the heart and soul. So that's really where I think first and foremost are my priorities are strengthening the ability for local communities to adopt, expand, and strengthen Special Olympics work. Of course, as a direct byproduct of that, we're given the opportunity to bring so many additional impact measures to people with or without intellectual disabilities. Things like our Unified Champion Schools, our Healthy Athletes Program, our Athlete Leadership Program that, Daniel, you are just a shining example of. Our leadership academies, our Unify with Refugees work, our Motor Activities Program, which I'll speak a little bit about. These are all of these come from our sport focus. And all of these come from the ability for us to mobilize and convene people together and show them that through sports, so much more is possible. And so, I'm very much inclusion to me means giving of yourself to better yourself. Give of yourself. Include. When you include someone, you take a risk because you're giving space without any guarantee of reciprocity, any guarantee of receptivity. To me, inclusion is giving of oneself to better oneself. Whenever I've participated in unified sports, I always come out better. Whenever this podcast, I'll the rest of my day will be better. I had a chance to speak with Kira Byland in London a couple of weeks ago. The rest of the day, I felt better. When you choose to include, you're making yourself better. Now, hopefully, we're also making the world better, but we're also making ourselves better. And so, inclusion to me is giving of oneself to better oneself.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to wrap up. Thank you so much, David, for taking the time to come on the Special Chronicles podcast. And hopefully one day we can do this in person.
Listen, Daniel, what a generous invitation. It's a big honor that you invited me and to take part. I'm a huge admirer of Special Chronicles. I'm glad that I now have an opportunity to donate to Special Chronicles, which I will. But my only ask, if I can ask one thing of you, Daniel, before we close, don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. You're on the right side. Keep going. Keep going. Everyone I've talked to who's on Special Chronicles comes away saying, man, that was the best. Now I know why. Thank you so much. You've made this, what a great way to move into the Thanksgiving holiday. As an American, I'm very thankful for your leadership, Daniel. Thankful for your generous invitation, but also just grateful for gaining from your energy and from your example. Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you, David, so much for sharing your story, your vision for Special Olympics. And to our listeners, you can join David and join our supporters and contribute to the Special Chronicles 2026 giving campaign at specialchronicles.com/give to help us continue to produce weekly episodes showing inclusive stories and amplifying voices that deserve to be heard. You can learn more about and join us at Special Olympics at specialolympics.org to find your local program. And don't forget to follow the Special Chronicles podcast on specialchronicles.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a rating and review. Every bit helps to grow the inclusion revolution. Remember, inclusion is about giving everyone a seat at the table and a chance to shine. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on specialchronicles.com. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.